All right, your Orange Book 2016 Emergency Response Guidebook. Uh, Going over the Guide 150. Substance, self-reactive temperature control, fire explosion, self-decomposition, self-polarization, self-ignition may be triggered. Heat, chemical reaction, friction, impact, self-acceleration, decomposition may occur with a specific controlled temperature is not maintained. These materials are particularly sensitive to the temperature rise above given controlled temperature, but they decompose and polarize violently and may catch fire, may ignite by heat, sparks, or flames. Those substances designated with a P with a polymerized explosive for the heat that involved with the fire. Some decompose explosively when heated or involved with the fire. May burn violently. Decomposition, polarization may self-acceleration produce large amounts of gas. Vapor dust must be explosive. Form explosive mixture with air, inhalation, contact vapor, substance decomposition products may serve injury, death may produce irritating toxic gas, corrosive runoff, fire control may cause pollution. Call emergency telephone number, shipping paper, the shipping paper is not available to no answer for the to appropriate number listed with the inside of the back of the covered immediate precautionary measure. Isolate, spill, leak air with all the directions with 150 feet, liquid 75 for solid to keep it unauthorized personal waste, stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Do not allow all substances to warm up with the same liquid nitrogen, wear thermal protective clothing, see Guide 120, dry ice cool or cooling. If not possible for the gun to be obtained with the evacuated immediately, protective water, clothing, wear personal positive protective self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, specially recommended manufacturer if may provide little or no thermal protection, structural firefighter protective clothing only provide limited protection. Evacuation, large spill conservative initial evacuation at 800 feet in all directions. If tanker car, rail tanker car, or tank truck is involved, isolate with a 1/2 mile in all directions, consider 800 meters or a half mile in all directions for evacuation. Substance and self-reactive temperature control, Guide 150 fire. The temperature of the substance must be maintained below cooler control temperature at all times. The dry small fire, dry chemical CO2, water spray, regular foam. Large fire, flood air with water for the distance. Move containers fire away from the, if you can do without risk. Fire involved with the tanks or car, trailer loads. Beware possible container explosion firefight with a maximum distance on main hose holders, monitor nozzle. Cool containers with flooding quantities of the water until the well after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately in case of the rising sound of the venting. Safety devices, discolorization of the tank. Always stay away from tanks engulfed in fire. Spill or leak, eliminate ignition source, no smoking, flame, sparks, or flames, immediate air, do not touch, walk through spilled material, stop leak. If you can do without risk, small spill, pick up the inert, damp, non-combustible material, use the clean, non-sparking tools, place it in a loosely covered plastic container for later disposal. Prevent entry of the waterways, sewers, basements with combined air, do not clean and dispose except under supervision of specialists. Ensure medical personnel are aware of the materials involved with the take precautions, protect themselves, move the victim, fresh air, 911 emergency, cover artificial vacuum respiration for the non-breathing, administrative oxygen breathing, the difficult, move the isolate with the contaminated clothing, shoes. Okay, for the contact with the substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with running water at least 20 minutes, keep the victim calm and warm. Alright, 151 substances toxic, non-combustible. Health, high toxic may be fatal and inhaled, swallowed, or absorbed through skin. Avoid skin contact. Effect for the contact and inhalation may be delayed. Fire producing irritating, corrosive with the toxic gases. Run off with the fire control dilution. Water may be corrosive with the toxic and cause pollution. Fire explosion, non-combustible substance that lights does not burn may decompose upon heating to produce corrosive with the toxic fumes. Containers may explode when heated. Runoff may pollute waterways. Call emergency telephone number. Shipping paper with the first. If the shipping paper is not available to no answer, for the appropriate telephone number to list with the inside of the back. Come under immediate precautionary measures to isolate, spill, leak air with the directions of the 150 feet liquid, 75 for solids. Keep unauthorized people away. Stay upwind, uphill, and upstream. Protective clothing, positive pressure, self-containing breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, and firefighter protective clothing. Limited situations, not spill. See table 1 in initial isolation protective action discipline for highlighted materials. And if tank or rail car, tank truck is involved, isolate 1/2 mile and evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substance, toxic, non-combustible, 151 fire. Small fire, dry chemical, CO2, water spray, large fire, water spray, fog, regular foam, move containers, fire, air with we can do without risk, dag, fire, control water, later disposal, do not scatter with the material, use water spray, fog, do not use straight streams. Fire involved with the tanks of car, trailer, loaders, fire foam, maximum distance on man hose holders, monitor nozzles. Do not get away with the water inside the containers, cooling containers, flooding quantities of water until the fire is out. Withdraw immediately when the size in case of the rising of the sound of the venting safety devices, discolorization tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. For a massive fire, use unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzles, if possible, withdraw air for the fire burn. Spill or leak, do not touch damaged container spills material unless for the appropriate protective clothing stop leak if you can do it without risk. Prevent injury with waterways, sewers, basement, and confined areas. Cover the plastic sheet with the prevent spreading, absorb, cover with dry earth and sand and non-combustible materials. Transfer containers. Do not get water inside the containers. Ensure the medical personnel and the material involved are aware of the material involved and precautions to protect themselves, the victims of fresh air. 911, artificial respiration. Um, uh, Special pocket mask for ingestion inhaled mouth to mouth, administer oxygen breathing is difficult, remove the isolated contaminated clothing and shoes, in case of the substance, immediately flush out of the running water at least 20 minutes for minor skin contact, avoid spreading material on unaffected skin, keep victim calm and warm, affected exposures, inhalation, ingestion, and skin contact to substance may be delayed. Alright, guidance 152, substance toxic combustible, health, high toxic may fatal within inhaled swallow, absorbed in skin contact with a molten substance may serve burns in skin and eyes, avoid skin contact, effects with the contact, inhalation may be delayed, fire may produce irritating corrosive toxic gas, run off the fire control, dilution, water may be corrosive toxic, cause pollution, fire explosion, combustible material may burn, does not ignite readily, caution may explode when heated, runoff may pollute waterways, substance may be transported in molten form. Pollution, public safety call, emergency telephone number, shipping paper with the first shipping paper that's not available to no aim. If it's preferred, the appropriate telephone number listed in the inside of the back of the cover. Immediate prior measure for the isolated spill of leak air, the direction, 150 feet with 75 feet solids. Keep unauthorized personnel away upwind, upstream, and upstream. Protective clothing, positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing by the manufacturer. Provide level normal thermal protection. Structural fire protective clothing for fire situation only. Is not effective with the spills and direct contact with substance. Spills. See Table 1. Initial isolation protective action distances for highlighted materials. And if not, use the public safety. If tank, rail car, tank, truck is involved, isolate with 1/2 mile and evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substance, toxic, combustible, 152. Emergency response. Small fire, dry chemical, CO2, water spray, fog, regular foam, move container to the fire area if you can do without risk. Fire dike, fire control, water later disposal. Do not scatter the material. Use water spray, fog. Do not use straight stream. The fire involved with the tanks, car, tank, trailer, loaders, fire fight for the maximum distance. Unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzle dry. Do not get water inside the containers. Cool containers, flooded quantities of the water until the water well after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately when the case of the rising sound of any safety device discolorization tank. Always stay away from the tanks and gulfs and fire. For massive fire, use unmanned hose holder, monitor nozzles. Impossible withdrawal of the air. Let fire burn. Spill or leak. Eliminate ignition source. No smoke of the fire. Flares, spark of the flames. Immediate air. Do not touch damage container. Spill the material unless the water. Wearing appropriate protective clothing. Stop leaking if you can do without risk. Prevent entry with the waterway of the sewers, basement, and confined area. Cover the plastic sheet to prevent spreading. Absorb cover with the dry earth and sand. Non-combustible materials transfer to the containers. Do not get water inside the containers. First aid. Ensure the medical personnel are aware of the materials involved with the taking the precaution for them. Move the victim fresh air. Call 911 emergency manual. Serve the give artificial respiration. Victim is not breathing. Do not use mouth-to-mouth victim and ingest an inhaled substance. Give the artificial respirator aid pocket mask. Equipped one-way valve. Other proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen. Breathing is difficult. Remove the isolation contaminated clothing. In case of the contact with substance, immediately flush skin and eyes. Running water at least 20 minutes for minor skin contact. Avoid spreading material to uninfected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Effective exposure, inhalation, ingestion, skin contact to substance may be delayed. 153. Substance, toxic or corrosive combustible. Potential hazard. A toxic inhalation, ingestion, skin contact with the material may serve the injury to death. The contact may molten substance may cause severe burns in skin and eyes. Avoid eye skin contact. Effects of the contact inhalation may delay fire, producing irritating, corrosive, and toxic gas to run off the fire control. Dilution water may be corrosive and toxic and cause pollution. Fire explosion. Combustible materials may burn but does not ignite. Readily when heated, the vapors may explode. Make sure for the indoor outdoors sewer explosion have the substance for the P for polymerizer. Explosive for the heated involved in the fire. Contact with the metals involved with the flammable. The hydrogen gas containers may explode when heated. Runoff may pollute waterways. Substances may be transported in molten form. Call emergency response telephone number. Ship to pay with the ship to pay with not available to know appropriate with the telephone number listed. Then back over the covered immediate precautionary spill measures and spill leak of the air direction of the 150 feet for the liquids and 75 for the solids. Keep it on unauthorized personal way. Stay upwind, upstream in the ventilated enclosed areas. Wear protective positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing specified by the manufacturer. Provide with little or no thermal protection. Structural firefighting protective clothing made limited protection fire in situation only with a non-effective spill solution situation with a direct contact contact of substance as possible. See Table 1, initial isolation, protective action, distance for highlighted materials. In the tank of those rail tank truck cars involved with isolate with 1/2 mile within all directions and evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substance toxic and corrosive combustible 153. Fire. Small fire, dry chemical CO2, water spray. Large fire, dry chemical CO2, alcohol resistant foam, water spray. Move contained within the fire area that you can do without risk. Like the fire control water related to disposal. Do not scatter the material. Fire involved with the tank of the car. Tank or load with the fire. Maximum distance. Unload. Unmanned hose holders. Monitored nozzles. Do not get water inside of the container. Cool the container of the flooding of the quantity of the water until the well after the fire is out. Withdrawing and immediately with the case of rising sound, venting, safety device, or discolorization of the tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulf fire, spill, or leak. Eliminating ignition sources. Do not touch damage contained with the spill material unless wearing appropriate protective clothing. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Prevent entry with the waterways, sewer basement with the confined areas. Absorb, cover the dry with earth, sand, and other non-combustible materials. Transfer the containers. Do not get water inside of the containers. Ensure medical personnel are aware of the involved with the precautions taken themselves. Move the fresh air. Call 911 and get artificial respiration. Victim is not breathing. Do not use mouth-to-mouth. Victim ingested inhaled substance. Give the artificial respiration. Aid pocket equipped with one-way valve with the other proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen. Breathing is difficult. Remove the isolate with contaminated clothing and shoes. In case the substance immediately flush skin and eyes with running water for at least 20 minutes. Minor skin contact, spreading material and affected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. And effective exposure, inhalation, and ingestion skin contact till the substance may be delayed. Alright, substances toxic and or corrosive non-combustible. Potential have toxic inhalation and ingestion of skin contact with the material that can cause severe injury of the death with contact with the molten substance may serve the appearance of the skin and eyes. Avoid skin contact. Effect of the contact inhalation may be delayed. Fire may produce the irritating corrosive toxic gas runoff of the fire control dilution water. May corrosive and toxic cause pollution, fire, explosion. Non-combustible substances listed do not burn. It may decompose upon heating or produce corrosive toxic fumes. Some oxides or make combustible contact metals in the valve of the flammable hydrogens container may explode when heated. For electrical vehicles equipped with the Guide 147 lithium batteries and sodium 138 sodium batteries should also be consulted. Call the emergency response telephone number to shipping paper. The shipping paper is not available. No answer. The appropriate telephone number not listed. The immediate precautionary business is 150 feet for liquid, 75 feet for solids. Keep it unauthorized personal with tape, upwind, uphill, upstream, ventilated, and enclosed area. Wear positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing specifically required by the recommended by the manufacturer. Provide little and no thermal protection. Structural fire protect clothing. Limited protection firefighting situation. Only the non-effective spill situation with the right contact substance possible. See table 1, initial isolation, protective action, distances for highlighted materials. Rail tanker car truck and isolate with 1/2 mile in all directions. Evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substance toxic and corrosive non-combustible. Guide 154. Fire, small fire, dry chemical CO2, water spray. Large fire, dry chemical CO2, alcohol-resistant foam, and water spray. Move containers from the fire area if you can do without risk. Tag with the fire control water later disposal. Do not scatter the material. Fire involved with the tank of the car, trailer, loads fire with a maximum distance. Unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzles. Do not get water inside of the container. Cool the container, flooding quantity of the water until the well after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately in the case of the rising sound with the venting safety device discolorization of the tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulf the fire spill of the leak. Eliminating ignition source. Do not touch damaged containment or spilled material unless for the wearing an appropriate protective clothing. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Prevent injury with the waterway, sewer basement with the confined areas. Absorb, cover the dryer with the non-combustible material to transfer the containers. Do not get water inside of the containers. First aid. Ensure the medical personnel are aware of the material involved with the precaution. Protect them. Move the victim. Call 911. Artificial respiration for the non-breathing. Do not use mouth-to-mouth method. Ingest inhaled substance. Give artificial respiration aid pocket mask. Scoop with a one-way valve with the open other proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen. Breathing is difficult. Remove the isolated contaminated clothing. Shooting in case of contact something immediate. Flush skin and eyes running water for at least 20 minutes from minor contact. Avoid spreading the material on affected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Effective exposure, inhalation, ingestion, skin contact. The substance may be delayed. Alright, 155, substance toxic, corrosive, flammable, the water, sensitive flame, fire, and explosion, high flammable, will be easily ignited with the heat and flames, spark flames. Vapors from the explosive mixture of the air indoors, outdoors, sewers, explosion have the most vapor to heavier than the air. They will spread along with the ground and collect in low confined areas, sewer basement, and the tanks. Vapors travel, absorb with ignition, flashback with the substance of the pee, pulverized, explosive with the heat involved with the area. and the fire. Substance will react with the water with some violently releasing flammable toxic corrosive gases run off. Contact with the metal involved with the flammable hydrogen gas. Containers may explode when heated with contaminated with water. Toxic inhalation, ingestion, contact with skin, eye with the vapor dust, and the substance with may severe injuries or burns or death. Broacetic and chloroacetes are extremely irritating lacrimators. Reaction with the water, moist release of the toxic corrosive with flammable gas reaction may generate with much heat, but increase the concentration fumes in the air. Fire will produce irritating corrosive with the toxic gas runoff of the fire control dilution, be corrosive toxic, cause pollution. Public safety, call emergency response telephone number, ship the paper. The shipper is not available with no answer. For the preferred telephone number to list to the back of the covered immediately precaution area. Isolate the spill and leak area direction of 150 feet of liquids, 75 feet for solids. Keep unauthorized personal waste. Stay upwind and upstream ventilated areas. Protective clothing, wear positive pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing recommended the manufacturer provide with little or no thermal protection. Structural firefighter protective clothing provide limited protection with the fire situation only, not effective in spill solution. The direct contact with substance is possible. Table 1, initial isolation, protective action, distances, and highlighted materials. Tank, rail car, tank trucks involved with isolate up to 1/2 mile in all directions, evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substance, toxic, corrosive, flammable, water sensitivity, emergency response. Note that most foams will react with the material released with the corrosive toxic gas called with the 4-acylate chloride, UN 1717, CO2, dry chemical, only small fire, CO2, dry chemical, dry sand, alcohol resistant stream, water spray, fog, alcohol stream resistant foam. For salines, do not use water, AFF, alcohol resistant, medium expansion foam. Move containers, fire if you can do without risk, use the water spray of the fog. Do not use spray straight stream. Fire involved with the tanks of the car, tanker, truck loads. Fire from a maximum distance on man hose holders, monitor nozzles. Do not get water in some of the containers. Cool the containers fluid quantities of the water until the water, while after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately with the size of the case with the rising sun with the venting safety device. Discolorization of the tank. Always stay away from these tanks engulfed in the fire. Alright, spill. Eliminate ignition source. All equipment used when handling product must be grounded. Do not touch damaged container spill material unless wearing appropriate protective equipment. Stock leak if you can do without risk. Vapor suppressing foam may be used with reduced vapors. For chlorosalines of the AFF alcohol resistant medium expansion foam, reduce vapors. Do not get water and spilled substance within the inside of the container. Use water spray to reduce vapor to divert vapor cloud drift. Allow water run off the contact spilled material to prevent entry of the waterway sewer basement with a confined area small spill. Cover the dryer with dry sand with non-combustible material filed with a plastic sheet. Minimize spreading with the contact with the rain. Use cleaning non-sparking tool to collect material. Place it in the loosely covered plastic container for later disposal. First aid, ensure the medical personnel are aware of the material involved with the take the precaution to protect themselves. Move the fresh air. Call 911 emergency medical. Serve with the artificial respiration with not breathing. Do not use mouth-to-mouth victim with ingested inhale with the substance. Give artificial respiration aid pocket mask with a one-way valve with the other proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen with the breathing is difficult. Remove the isolate with contaminated clothing and skin and shoes. And in case of the substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with running water for at least 20 minutes. For minor skin contact, avoid spreading material with the uninfected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Effective exposure, inhalation, ingestion, skin and contact substance may be delayed. Guide 156, substance, toxic, corrosive, combustible, water sensitive, fire explosion. Combustible materials may burn, does not ignite readily. Substance will react with the water, some violently releasing flammable, toxic, corrosive gas with the runoff of the heated vapor to perform the explosion. Mixture of the air, indoors, outdoor sewer explosion hazard. Most vapors are heavier than air, spread along the ground, collected in low confined areas of the sewer basement. Tanks vapors may travel to the ignition, flashback, contact metal involved with flammable hydrogen gas. Containers may explode, heated, and if contained with water. Health, the toxic inhalation, ingestion, contact with the skin, and the vapor to dust substance may serve the injury of the bird. Death, contact with the molten substance may serve the burns in skin and eye. The reaction with water, moist, release toxic, corrosive, flammable gas. The reaction may, with water, may generate the heat, will increase the concentration of fumes in the air. Fire will produce irritating, corrosive, the toxic gas to run off with the control of dilution. Water must be corrosive and may cause pollution. Public safety, call emergency response telephone number. Shipping paper, the first shipping paper is not available. The preferred appropriate telephone number listed in the back of the cover. All immediate precaution measure for the isolation care of the directions of 150 feet for liquids, 75 for solids. To keep it unauthorized people away, stay upwind, upsail, and upstream, ventilate enclosed areas. Wear personal protective, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, and recommended with the manufacturer. Provide with little or no thermal protection. Structural firefighters protective provides limited protection. Fire situation only is not effective within spill situations. Direct contact substances possible. See Table 1, initial isolation, protective action, and distance highlighted materials. If tank, rail car, tank, truck is involved, isolated a half mile in all directions. Consider initial evacuation 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, your substance, toxic, corrosive, combustible water supply, fire. Note, most foams will react with material with least the corrosive, toxic fire, gases, small fire, CO2, dry chemical, dry sand, alcohol-resistant foam, water spray fog, alcohol-resistant foam, chloro, salines. Do not use water, AFFL, alcohol-resistant medium, expansion foam. Move containers with the fire area if you can do without risk. Use the water spray. Do not use straight streams. Fire involved with the tanks and car trailer loads. Fire with a maximum distance. Unmanned hose holders, minor nozzles. Do not get water inside of the container. Cool containers floating quantity of the water until after the fire is out. Withdraw immediately with the sizing cave for the rising sound of any safety device. Discolorization of the tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. Spill, eliminate ignition source equipment. Equipment is to be grounded. Do not touch the damage of the spilled material without wearing appropriate protective equipment. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Vapor suppressing foam may be to do the reduce vapors. For chloro, salines, AFFF, alcohol, resistant medium expansion foam, reduce vapor. Do not get water on spilled substance inside container. Use water spray. Reduce vapors to divert vapor cloud drift, allowing water to run off the contact spilled material. Prevent entry of the waterway, sewer, basement, and compliant areas. Small spill, cover the dry sand, non-combustible material with a plastic sheet. Minimize spreading with the contact with the rain. Use clean, non-sparking tools, collecting material with a loosely covered plastic container with later disposal. First aid, ensure medical personnel are aware of the materials involved with taking the precaution of themselves. Move the victim, fresh wear. 911, emergency 911, artificial respiration, victim not breathing. Do not use mouth-to-mouth victim and inhale the ingested the substance. Give artificial respiration aid, pocket mask, equipped with one-way valve with a proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen, breathing is difficult. Move the isolate with the contaminated clothing, shoe within case of the contact substance. Immediately flush again. Eyes monitoring water at least 20 minutes. For minor skin contact, avoid spreading material on affected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Affect exposure, inhalation, ingestion, skin contact substance may be delayed. Alright, Guide 157, substance toxic of the corrosive and non-combustible water, sensitive to health, toxic inhalation, ingestion, contact with the vapor to death and substance may severe injury, burns, or death with the reaction. Water, moist air with the may release toxic, corrosive, flammable gases. Reaction with the water may generate much heat, will increase the concentration of the fumes. Air with the fire will produce irritating, corrosive, with the toxic gases. Runoff with the fire control dilution water may be corrosive, with the toxic cause pollution. Fire explosion, non-combustible substance that does not burn may decompose upon heating to produce the corrosive toxic fumes for UN 1796, 1826, and 2031. High concentration for UN 2032. They may be oxidizers. Also consult the Guide 140. Vapors accumulating with the confined areas, base tanks, copper tanks, etc. Substance may react with water, some violently releasing corrosive toxic gas runoff. Contacts with metals may involve with flammable hydrogen gas. Containers may explode when heated if contaminated with water. Evacuate public safety. Call emergency telephone number. Shipping paper. The shipping paper is not available. To prefer the appropriate telephone number to list inside of the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary measure. Isolate spill leak in all directions of 150 feet for liquid, 75 feet for solids. Keep unauthorized person away. Stay upwind, upstream, and ventilate enclosed area. I'm cooking a hamburger. You want one? No. Protective clothing, positive self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, special recommended the manufacturer provide little or no thermal protection. For structural fires, protective clothing provide limited protection. Fire situation only, not available to spill situation. Direct contact substances possible. Initial table 1, initial isolation, protective action, distances, highlighted materials. In green, if rail tanker or tanker truck is involved in the fire, isolate with 1/2 mile in all directions, 1/2 mile and evacuate 1/2 mile in all directions. Alright, substances toxic or growth of non-combustible water. Something to note. Some of the foams will react with the material released with the toxic gases of the CO2 of the cyanide, dry chemical, dry sand, alcohol-resistant foam, water spray, fog, alcohol-resistant foam, mode, containers, fine, air with it can do without without risk. Use water spray or fog. Do not use straight streams. Dike fire control water later disposal. Do not scatter the material. Firing involved with the tanks, cars, trailer, loaders, firefighting, maximum distance, unmanned hose holders, modern nozzles. Do not get water in some of the containers. Cool containers, flood quantity of the water as well after the fire is out. Withdrawn immediately with the site. Case of the rising sun. Venting safety device discolorization tank. Always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire. Alright, spill or leak eliminated all ignition sources. All equipment handled must be grounded. Do not touch damaged containers, spill materials, and left properly protect the clothing. Stop leak if you can do without risk. Avoid suppression, foaming, maybe even the vapor product. Reduce vapors. Do not get water inside the container. Use water spray with reduced vapors and the direct vapor drought craft that allow water run off the contact spilled material. Prevent entry of the waterways, sewers, basements, confined areas. Small spill, cover dry earth, dry sand, non-combustible material until the plastic sheet. Minimize spreading contact with rain. Use clean, non-sparking tools to collect material. Place in loosely covered plastic containers for later disposal. First aid, ensure medical awareness for the material involved as a precaution. Move fresh air, 911, artificial respiration, no mouth-to-mouth ingestion, inhale without a proper respirator device. Administer oxygen with breathing difficult. Remove the isolated contaminated clothing and shoes. In case of contact substance, remove flush skin with running within 20 minutes. In case of contact with hydrofluoric acid, flush large amounts of water for the skin. Contact with calcium gluconate is available. Rinse 5 minutes to apply the gel. Otherwise, continue rinsing until the medical treatment is over. For eye, flush water and saline solution for the 15 minutes. For minor skin contact, avoid spreading material on affected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Effective exposure, inhalation, ingestion, skin contact substance may be delayed. Alright, infectious substances. Alright, potential hazard. Inhalation contact substance may cause an infection, disease, or death. Category A, infection substance, UN 2814 2900 are more hazardous than hazardous form. Infectious substances are shipped in Category B, biological substance, UN 3373, clinical waste medical, UN 3291. Runoff of fire control may cause environmental contamination. The damaged package containing solid CO2 refrigerant may be produced water, frost condensating of the air. Do not touch the solid or liquid. It could be contaminated with the contents of a parcel. Contact with solid CO2 may cause burn and severe injury with the frostbite. Fire explosions. Some of these materials may burn but not ignite readily. Some may be transport flammable liquids. Alright, call emergency telephone number, shipping paper. The shipping paper is not available now, and if the telephone number listed inside of the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary measures: insulate spill at least up to 75 feet. Keep unauthorized people away. Stay upward, uphill, upstream. Identify substance involved. Wear respiratory protection such as fitted with the N95 fit respirator, minimum power air purifying respirator, or positive pressure self-contained breathing apparatus. Wear full coverage body protection, face shield, disposal fluid resistant glasses. Wear gloves. Wear approximate footwear, disposal shoe cuffs that can be worn to protect against contamination. Puncture cut resistant gloves would be worn with over fluid resistant gloves and sharp objects are present. Wear insulated gloves over fluid resistant gloves when handling dry ice. Decontaminate protective clothing, personal protective equipment after using, before cleaning and disposal. Appropriate chemical disinfectant or through validated decontamination technology or process. Structural fire fighting protective clothing will only provide limited protection. Alright, infectious substance section, Guide 158. Small fire, dry chemical, soda ash, lime, sand. Large fire, use extinguisher agent suitable to the type of the surrounding fire. Do not scare or spill the material with high pressure water streams. Move containers from fire area if you can do without risk. Do not touch walk-through spilled material. Do not damage container the spilled material unless the appropriate protective clothing. Absorb earth and sand with other non-combustible materials. Cover damaged package spilled materials, absorbent materials, paper towels, rags, absorbent liquids beginning outside the edge of the pore, liquid bleach or other chemical disinfection to saturate. Keep wet and liquid bleach or other disinfection. Do not clean up to dispose except with under supervision of specialists. First, ensure medical or aware of the materials involved to take the precautions of themselves. Move victims to safe area. Caution victim may source of the contamination 911 emergency medical service to remove the isolated contaminated clothing, shoes. In case of the contact substance, immediately flush skin, eyes, and running water at least 20 minutes. Effective exposure and inhalation, ingestion, injection, inoculation, or skin contact to substance may be delayed. Victims should be consult medical professional information regarding symptoms and treatment. Further assistance call the Poison Control Center. Alright, Guide 159, substance irritating. Potential hazards in health. Inhalation has vapor to death, extremely irritating, may cause burning of the eyes, flow of the tears, may cause coughing, difficult breathing, nausea. Breathing exposure effect will last only a few minutes. Explosion in closed area may be very harmful. Fire will produce irritating caress with toxic gases. Run out with the fire control dilution. Water will cause pollution. Fire explosion. Some of these materials may burn but not ignite readily. Containers may explode when heated. Public safety call, emergency telephone number, ship it to paper, the ship it to paper at the time, be able to appropriate the telephone number listed in the back of the cover. Immediate precautionary isolation spill leak in the direction of 150 feet and 75 feet for liquids. Keep solids. Keep authorized personal ways. Stay upwind, uphill, upstream. Ventilate close spaces before entering. Wear protective pressure, self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, especially recommended the manufacturer provided no thermal protection. Structural fire protective provided limited protection situation is not effective with the spill situation. Direct contact substance is possible. See Table 1, initial isolation protective action disciplines. If the tank, rail truck, or tank car is involved, isolate up to 1/2 mile in all directions and evacuation in 1/2 mile in all directions. Substance irritating. The small fire, dry chemical, CO2, water spray, regular foam, large fire, water spray foam, regular foam, move container fire, able to do not risk, dike fire, control, water later, disposal, do not scatter material, fire involved with tanker, car trailer loads, fire with a maximum distance, unmanned hose handlers, monitor nozzles, do not get water inside the containers, cool containers, flooding quantity of the water until the water is at well after the fire is out, withdraw immediately, casing rising sound with a venting, safe device, discolorization tank, always stay away from the tanks engulfed in fire, fire, massive unmanned hose holders, monitor nozzle, if possible, withdraw the air, let fire burn. Alright, spill or leak. Do not touch, walk through the spilled material to stop leak if you can do without risk. Fully encapsulating vapor protective clothing should be worn. Spills leak with no fire. Small spills pick up the sand, non-combustible absorbent material. Plate for the containers for later disposal. Large spills, deck area, head liquid spills for later disposal. Prevent every entry of the waterway, sewer, basement, or confined areas. Ensure the medical personnel are aware of the materials involved to take protection against themselves. Move victim to fresh air, 911, artificial respiration, mouth to mouth. If the ingested and inhaled substance, get artificial respiration, pocket mask with one-way valve, proper respiratory medical device. Administer oxygen, breathing if difficult. Move the isolated, contaminated clothing and shoes. In case of contact substance, immediately flush skin and eyes with running water at least 20 minutes. For minor skin contact, avoid spreading material with the uninfected skin. Keep victim calm and warm. Effects should disappear when the individual has exposed in fresh air approximately 10 minutes. Alright, Guide 160, halogenated solvents. And we're going to cut the tape there. Testing.